We'll do it. Hello.
Hi.
Good evening, ladies.
Hello.
Have you two gotten to talk?
Met Maria just a couple of times over the past, how many years have I been with Goddess Elite now? Since 2018. So I've met Maria in passing a few times, especially at the psychic fairs, but I don't know that we've ever had a real full-on conversation. I don't remember.
I know, because you ladies are
No, because we're always missing each other. You come on odd days that I'm not there,
Yeah.
or when I show up just to solicit solicit energies. Yeah, you're
Yes.
not there.
I'm like,
Well,
yeah,
it's nice to be here now. Thanks for including me.
I know I've had you two in the same building at the same time, but
Several
it's usually
times.
always so busy that, I don't think you two have ever gotten to talk.
Yeah. Well, here we are today.
All right, let me put up our little banner so people know what we're talking about. Let them know, hey, we're live. Come talk and interact with us real quick. Are you guys enjoying the kind of fallish weather that we're finally getting out there?
Absolutely. I am. Oh my gosh, I spent hours at the Metro Parks yesterday getting my medicine. So lovely.
Like we're officially in that you put your hoodie on and then you take your hoodie off.
Yes.
Did you
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Ice cold in the morning, hot in the afternoon, playing the AC heater game.
Yeah.
It's on, it's off. Open windows. Oh, turn it back on. My poor AC is like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
And my reply is just hang in there. That's what I want you to
Hang
do.
in there. We're playing games right now.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Healer's Corner. We have the lovely Miss Dana on with us. And Dana, you're going to enlighten us about Akashic Records and how that goes in with past lives and all the fun stuff. Because it's like, as much as I know with Akashic Records, I still feel like there's so much I don't know.
Me too.
You're learning in progress as well. Honestly.
I think we're always a student. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, why don't you start by telling us, how did you get into the whole Akashic Records journey of what you do?
Okay. Well, I've actually first heard about the Akashic Records in 2008 when I was living in Los Angeles. And I was at one of the very first new moon circles I ever went to, and it was being led by a shaman. And I heard her talking about the Akashic Records, and my interest was piqued. And I was like, wow, what are they? And she told us a little bit about what they are. I felt my heart just kind of, like throbbing. Like I was like, oh my gosh, I must know what these are. And I had gotten at the time, Sylvia Browne was still alive, psychic Sylvia Browne. And I had so many of her books, and she was writing about the Akashic Records. So I was meditating at the time. I mean, I always meditate, but I was really getting into it in 2007, 2008. And I asked in my spirit guides in meditation about the Akashic Records, and they said, not yet. And I was like, wow, okay. Fast forward to 2022. When I suddenly got a message from Spirit, it's time to read the Akashic Records. And I've been doing past life regression work and psychic readings for many years, working with angels and spirit guides since 2007, 2008. And I only just began reading the Akashic Records 3 years ago. And I was following, there's a woman online, her name's Laura Coe. She has something called the Little Soul School. And I was following her during the pandemic, and she was giving Akashic Records messages and things. And then in 2022, she was like, I'm offering a 3-level certification course for the Akashic Records. If this calls to you, join in. And I did all 3 levels, like one after another within 3 months, and I got certified. I gave her a reading. It was terrifying. There was 40 people in the class, and she had me read her in front of the class as an example. And I was like, oh my God, please don't make me do this. But I did. And she said it was one of the best Akashic Records readings she'd ever had. And so I just knew that from that point on, I had to keep doing it. And so after you get certified, you're supposed to do The suggestion is to do a lot of Akashic Records readings as practice before you start incorporating it into the work that you do. And I was ready to go. I just started doing practice readings on people, and they were incredible. They were blowing me away. And so I had my records read by some other classmates that did the course with me. And that's how it all started back in 2022. It was actually in August 2022 that I was certified. And so it's been 3 years.
I was going to say almost like 3 years on the dot.
Yeah, almost exactly. And at the same time, had sharing that office space there at Goddess Elite. And so I actually had that beautiful space to start to open up Akashic Records readings to people and offer them, because I was already doing psychic readings. And now I just have something extra to offer. And we can, even go into the difference between a psychic reading and Akashic Records, but we can also do, because I know you guys wanted to talk a lot about past lives as well and where that comes into. So if you want to stay on point with that, but the Akashic Records, the more time you spend in them and working with them, they become like an old friend to you. So it's like when you wear in leather, it's like it starts to fit you so much better. And they're really amazing. I think the biggest surprise about them is that they're fun. They don't have to be so serious, although they do give you serious, profound truths. But they can be a lot of fun too. They have a sense of humor, and they can be very lighthearted and oh so healing. So it's just really, really magnificent. I'm so grateful.
So like, what is the difference between like the Akashic Records and like the past lives that like?
Yeah. Well, the Akashic Records, for people who don't know, Akasha can be translated into several different words: sky, space, spirit. So it's just floating out there. It's the energetic library of your soul. And so everybody has their own records. They have been keeping track of you since the moment of your creation and eternity ago. And they're keeping track of your soul journey. It's kind of like the soul's memory. And so when we tap into our Akashic Records, which absolutely want to be read and accessed because it can only help us, we start to learn, we solve mysteries about ourselves, really. That's what I tell people. If you have questions, who, what, when, where, why, and how about yourself, the Akashic Records can answer those questions. Why am I in this relationship? What am I learning with this person? What past lives are affecting me today? Why do I always feel a blockage when I come to this part in my life? How come I can't move forward in this area? Why am I not making money? What is this mysterious health issue that I'm dealing with that nobody can figure out? So we learn all kinds of things like that. And I really do feel like past lives are one of the most common questions that people ask about when exploring their Akashic Records, because they're all in there. And we can't really walk around in life knowing all of our past lives. That would be a burden, and it would be very distracting, and it just would be not helpful. So with that being said, there are some past lives that we haven't resolved, and maybe we're with the same people we were in those past lives, and maybe we're experiencing some of the similar themes or life lessons that we have already been experiencing in past lives, that we're trying to get to some sort of transcendence with this. And so we do tend to repeat some things. So past lives can be very helpful in that way. And when I'm reading somebody's past lives in the Akashic Records, the Akashic Records are only going to show us the lives that they most need to know about at that moment. So say, for example, somebody's had 100 past lives and they want to know which ones are affecting them today. There might be 2. And they only get to know about those 2 past lives, because the Akashic Records are not going to be like, let's talk about the one where you were hanging laundry on the line for 50 years. Boring. They're going to go right to the one that has the moment or the event that is affecting them today, or the person, the soul, right? The lesson. So it's kind of like doing a Google search for your soul. Like, let me just plug in that question and give it a moment and see what pops up, right? It's kind of fascinating that way. So once we do get to somebody's past life in the Akashic Records, there's often a healing or a clearing that is offered from the Akashic Records. Would you like to release this so it's no longer in your cellular memory, so it doesn't affect you today with the anxiety, or with the, with that blockage, or with that, self-sabotage, whatever it is. And so we pause and we get a healing, and it's like the event in the past life can't necessarily be erased because it did occur, but it can be cleared so that it's not affecting them today. in their cellular memory, because our cells remember everything. As soon as the soul goes into
Mhm.
the body, those millions of cells start to communicate with the soul. Like, hey, the last time you were in a body, you drowned off of a fishing boat in Ireland. Oh, that's your asthma today. Okay, well, how about we clear that for you, right? And there's been some miraculous stories that have come through the Akashic Records readings that I've done. Really, really amazing. I'm always humbled and amazed.
As you're describing them, it's funny. I'm a visual person, and I picture like a big podium, big, you know, like statuesque type podium that you walk up and you flip open the book and you're like, I want to know about this. And then it's like a library while the books start shooting around. And then,
Yeah, yeah,
almost like this library that just kind of starts handing you
yeah.
books. And because I have a very active
I
imagination.
love that. So do I.
Oh, I would like that would be a dream job to be a librarian.
Yes.
It's like what?
And
For the Akashic Records.
well, we have guardians. We have guardians and loved ones that oversee our records, kind of like that. They are kind of like the librarians.
I'm like, oh.
Yeah. And that is
Well,
kind of
that's-
what I see when I am reading somebody's records. Oftentimes that it will look very similar to that, but oftentimes there's often a different scene. It's so fascinating because even though our records are in spirit, in space, in the sky, that's Akasha. I am always shown some construct, environment, or some kind of scene when I go in. Like, okay, your Akashic records are inside of a cave and there's this huge purple crystal in there, and I'm just going to sit here and read them today. Or yours are in this beautiful garden with a fountain, or yours are in this castle and I'm being guided inside by a butler, or yours are in yours are in a rainbow. It's really somebody's was on a train once. Why am I on a train reading this person's Akashic records? But it does kind of lend to what is going on in that person's life, or tells me a little bit about them, or maybe the scene is from a favorite place of theirs from a past life. Like I am in Japan in this grove of cherry trees and the blossoms are floating down everywhere, and maybe that was their favorite place in a past life, and that's where their records are kept. So it is a lot like that. It could also be very Harry Potterish. There's owls flying around, they're dropping scrolls.
I'm still waiting on my letter.
Yeah.
My letter to get on my train to like go to the castle. Like
Yes, I love that.
Are there some records that for a spell of time that the client should not know because
Yeah.
they agreed to go ahead and do the lesson because you didn't learn it
Yeah.
and in that life?
Yeah, absolutely. There are times when I'll ask a question for somebody that they want to know, and the records are like, we can't. That's not helpful for you to know right now. So they will withhold, and there could even be like, you want to figure this out yourself, so we can't give you that answer, but we will tell you this. And what the records do offer, like most of the time, is actually a best case scenario, the highest potential. So if somebody asks, what should I focus on right now for my career? The records are going to show the highest potential, because I feel like they want the person, even if there might be there's 4 options that you can explore for your career, but the records are going to tell you about this one that's at the top tier to try to get you to raise your vibration to match that. They may not choose that option because it's too scary, they're not ready, whatever, but there's 3 other options for them to choose. But the records always want to give the highest potential one to try to lift us up into that potential, because that's where we are going to be thriving at our best energetic frequency in this life, most fulfilling place. And it's okay if people aren't ready. That doesn't mean it was translated wrong. They're going to find something else great, but they're setting the bar high for somebody to get to. Which is always neat. And I've seen several of my clients reach that, and it's really cool.
Are there some records that goes into the future? Because this is a book of past,
Yes.
but it could be also a book of the future.
Yes.
And I know sometimes spirit will not divulge that information, but do you see that? Do you are able to see it?
Yes.
For the person?
Yeah. And the reason that I can is because a lot of our lives have predestined events that we have already set into motion before we incarnated. And that's how we can see that. Like, say, for example, somebody is getting ready to come into life for their next incarnation, and they say, okay, and then I need to marry this person because, we have karma to reconcile, and we need to have these kids together, and we need to have this home, and we need to build this business and all of these things. And so if somebody's looking for their love, I can start to see that, and then they want to have their questions about, what is my soul's plan for romance in this life? I can be shown that, okay, you do have a plan for romance in this life. There will be a wedding, there will be children, there will be a home and a business with this person. So I am able to tell them those things. Records are not going to say how they're going to meet that person, but there might be hints of like, are you putting yourself out there and dating? And they're like, no, I sit at home all day waiting for the HVAC guy, hoping it's him. Sorry. You need to put yourself out there. Oh, don't make me get online dating. Well, say yes to invitations and put yourself out there. That's how you're going to meet him. Like that's, you're not going to meet him by sitting at home waiting for the rug cleaner, or the guy that's going to, whack the weeds by the pond. Could be. We've heard, crazier stories, but yeah, sometimes the records will show future potentials and those higher paths, especially if it is helpful for us in the moment, meaning maybe it gets us out of sadness or anxiety or a broken heart, gives us hope again. And the records want that. They're very, very positive. So they know exactly what we need. It's awesome.
How do the records work in? So the theory and belief for some that we choose everything before coming, right?
Yes, not I don't believe we choose everything. There's a lot of free will, but we choose the big things.
So it's like you have that core group that you're coming down to like learn lessons, and they have their own plans. But like, here's the technical and the book person in me going, so here's my Akashic record book that's given this, but because this person is also in my life, like, how does that relate over into them? And are you ever shown pieces for like somebody else, like these interwound,
Yes.
there we go, books and, your client? Like, how does that look?
That's a great question. When I was in my Akashic Records training, it's a big, big, big deal. They say, if you don't have permission to read anybody's Akashic Records, you can't read them. However, when I am reading a client, if they ask a question about somebody else in their life, we are allowed to know some things in regards to that person because they would be in the client's Akashic Records. And so I'm not opening. So if somebody asks me a question like about their child or their husband, I would have to ask their first and last name so that I can look them up in my client's Akashic Records and see what information is there. And that's what I am allowed to access, but I can't go into that other person's Akashic Records. I mean, you could, but it is not recommended or suggested, and I never would. And that's why I always make sure I close my clients' records when we're done, just so nobody else goes in there rooting around. Not that I don't think that but I mean, there are people out there that have nothing better to do than like send a computer virus. So who knows? Maybe there's people out there that are like trying to send viruses into our Akashic Records. That would be awful to imagine, but I'm sure there's crazier things that have happened. But they are very well protected. And there have been times when I've been asked questions about people in my clients' lives, and it'll come through very clearly that we're not allowed to access that information. But here's what they will tell you about the situation. Yeah. And then the client always understands. They're like, yeah, I didn't figure it would all come through that way.
You can always ask and maybe hope, but don't expect.
Exactly. Right? And especially if the answer helps people, then we would get a lot of that information. But if it isn't helpful or they're meant to learn on their own, then it won't be, the information will not be transmitted.
Interesting.
Yeah. So when, like, if it's a chronic illness a person is experiencing and is in the records, how do you clear?
I ask their records. I say, what healing or clearing is available? And then they will often show me something that's different every time. For example, I was reading somebody recently who she wanted to know about a past life blockage and how it's affecting her today. And I saw that in a past life, she was pregnant and the man really had no intention of being with her or raising the baby. He left and she was sort of in denial about that, thinking he'd come back. There was complications in the childbirth. The child was fine, but she had an infection and she was just waiting for medicine and it never came and she ended up dying, but she remained earthbound. So she remained a ghost. And that's something that's blocking her today. She feels invisible. So that we went into her records. Why does so-and-so feel invisible? I state her name and I'm reading her records. Says, oh gosh, this is connected to a past lifetime or in between lives when you were earthbound. She stuck around in that life for the benefit of her child. right, to try to be close to the child and didn't cross over and until the child passed, and then they went together. But for those years in between lives, as she was stuck earthbound, no one could see her, no one could hear her. She was completely invisible, and it was traumatic. And she still feels invisible today. So I asked her Akashic Records because we didn't want her to feel invisible anymore. We want her to fall in love. We want her to have a happy life. And so I asked her Akashic Records what healing or clearing was available, and the records were so amazing. They surrounded her in this beautiful, they put like a white cape over her, and then they took it from her. They like pulled it out of her cellular memory, and they bundled it up just like a baby, and they put it in her arms. And then they like this, I'm all describing this because I'm very visual as well. And so I'm seeing all of this and talking about it with her and sharing, like, here's the clearing they're doing. And meanwhile, she's feeling a shift while she's sitting across from me. And then they had her put it in like a cradle and then just walk away from it and go into the light. And so it was like they crossed her over from the, like, it was almost like they showed, like, in that past life scene, what it would have been like if she just crossed over and trusted that her child would be okay with her sister, who was the one that ended up taking it in the past life. And she didn't have to stay stuck earthbound. She could have loved that child just as much from the other side had she gone into the light and crossed over. So they kind of did that for her in the records. And when I read with my eyes closed, but when I had opened my eyes, like, tears were streaming down her face, but she was so happy. She just felt so free. And she just had hip surgery and knee surgery. So I feel like she was dancing out of that room. I just swear she was like so gracefully floating away after our session. This kind of stuff like that really makes me feel so good about doing this work.
Now, did that like effectively go back and rewrite?
I think it may have.
Or is there like an annotation then? Like,
here's what it rewrote it. I actually think it rewrote it, because in another situation, I had a client that asked me about her ankle. She's like, my ankle has been bothering me my whole life. And I was able to see that in a past life, she was chained up by the ankle as a slave. And she ended up figuring out how to cut her own foot off in order to get away. And the same thing happened. What healing or clearing is available for this? And I'm really making a long story short, but she ended up in the past life. What they had was they had help come and help her get away and figure out how to break the chains instead of cut her foot off. And again, her foot hasn't bothered her since, but I feel like they kind of rewrote it. So maybe that healing or clearing is a rewrite of the records. Some sages, mystics, and healers and psychics will agree that all of our past lives are happening all at once, since there's no such thing as time. And so with that being said, that's a really interesting concept to consider if we did rewrite them somewhere, because everything's just layers and layers of density or dimension, like these different, fragments of time, these different platforms of reality, these densities and vibrations that we can project ourselves into as an incarnation. And so it's a little too big still for me to go there sometimes. And I have asked the records questions like that. But it's, you take it in bite-sized chunks, whatever you're comfortable with knowing. All I really want to know is that the person feels better without asking, getting too caught up in like, all right, what's the logic behind this? We don't work with logic when we're psychics.
Yeah, sometimes that might impede like the healing happening if you try to get too technical and logical. I feel like sometimes
Absolutely.
just let it be and let it happen, and like not for you to know at this point.
Yeah, like I'm learning to, I'm still learning to do this. I have to keep reminding myself to say the things that don't make sense. Because I was reading a gal the other day and she asked a question. And the answer was, she was asking something about some of her guides. And I was like, okay, so there's a guide coming through. And he keeps saying the call, the call. And I wouldn't say it for the longest time because I didn't know what it meant. Finally, I was telling her, he keeps talking about the call. And I don't know what that means. And I'm trying to, like, maybe he's talking about, the call of the wild or some kind of an animal, like a bird call or something. She goes, no, I know exactly what it is. And she validates it for me that she had gotten into a car accident. And it was bad, and she was trapped inside the car. When she disoriented, she finally found her way out of the car, and she's covered in blood. A white SUV pulls up. A man in white gets out. He hands her his phone, and he says, make the call. She called her mom. Help come. Like, obviously, he disappears, turns around, he disappears. She never sees him again. But the next day, because she called her mom with the number, they called the number back. She wanted to thank him. Number is disconnected. This number does not exist. And it was one of her angels or guides that was being shown that was who came. And told her about to make the call, and I have chills just telling it again, but she was like spot on. She goes, and I've been thinking about the call lately. She goes, I still call that number all the time. It's been 4 years since that accident, and it's always disconnected.
It's
Mhm.
never
And
reassigned or anything. That's amazing.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Mhm.
So you
Mhm.
got to say it. If anybody else out there needs to hear this, you're psychic, you're doing readings, say the things that don't make sense. Don't be afraid to say them, because the person you're reading knows exactly what you're talking about. Don't hold back for logical reasons.
that
Mhm.
is,
Yes.
wow. Like I got
Yes.
goosebumps as you were saying that. And I'm like, this is
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
amazing.
Now, can just anybody access their own Akashic records, or do they have to be like
Yeah.
trained or?
Yeah, I've tried to teach a couple of people, none of which are fully accessing them yet. I've worked with 3 people to try to teach them how to read their Akashic records, and they're not committing the time to learning it. So that's one reason, at least for 2 of them. The third one, I believe that her vibration isn't quite high enough. Your records want to be read by you. They are absolutely accessible to you, but it does take a commitment to sit with them, maybe at the same time every day, and set an intention and try to work with them, and have that consistent intention, and to raise your vibration, keep your vibration high, which is going to be through music and journaling and nature and meditation and positive feelings and emotions and laughter, right? And just keeping, around positive people, just keeping your frequency, because you want to dial into that frequency. And it's going to be a lot easier to access your own Akashic records if you have that higher vibration, not necessarily, being negative, or walking around in a lot of grief or depression. Like it's going to be hard to access your records that way, but they do want to be read. And absolutely, with practice, consistent practice, people can get into their own records. I opened mine the first day, and you know what they said as soon as I opened them the first time? They said, oh, it was actually in your records that you'd be coming to your records. Hello. And then they started playing music for me. They were playing a song. Melissa, you might remember this song. Is it by Oingo Boingo? It's a song like We Pretend That We're Dead. No, it's a different song. It's like You Pretend That You're Dead or something like that. And I was like, they were doing funny songs like that. And ooh, heaven is a place on earth. They were singing these songs about heaven and death, and like my Akashic records. I'm like, there's a dance party going on here. With the lyrics of the songs, and they were very fun and very funny. And I think one of the, when I started to play around with my records, I go in there a lot before I go to bed. I open my own records before I go to bed, and I kind of meditate in them. And I have the best sleep. And then I'm like, oops, I forgot to close them before I fell asleep. So I close them first thing in the morning, which can lead to some interesting dreams as we're floating around in the astral realm. But I made it back every time.
Now,
Yeah.
will the Akashic records cover lifetimes like in other dimensions and planets as well?
Yes, we just have to ask the right questions. And I have seen some of that in my readings as well. They're really fascinating. In fact, another popular question, it's gaining in popularity. Am I currently alive in another dimension, in another reality? And if so, where? What am I doing, and with who? And that was a question that I asked when somebody was reading my records. And I got an answer that I just laughed out loud, and I knew it to be 100% true. And I just, it's really awesome. So I am currently alive in another dimension right now, having another experience slightly different than this one. Not doing psychic work, but a lot of the other things are very much the same. Yeah.
Well, that it's funny that like bringing this up again, because you mentioned before about the belief that time is just illusion. We're all happening, and we've had at least one previous episode on like quantum leaping, and I'm like, oh, like the Akashic records could like dabble into that in a way. You
Yes.
start asking those
For
questions.
sure. I actually had
Mhm.
somebody ask me once, he's a flat earther, and he asked the question in his Akashic records. And he told me, he was like, and you're not allowed to judge me when I ask this question. And I was like, judgment is not invited into the Akashic records. There is absolutely no judgment. What is your question? And he says, well, I know that the earth is flat, and I want to know, how do I make my parents believe what I believe? And he was like, they're the two most important people to me. And so that was the number one question that ever threw me a little bit off, because I was like, he came in a little aggressive on it. But listen to what the records said, because this will make you fall in love with the records even more. The records responded with, the question you should be asking is, why is it important to you that your parents believe what you believe? You come from a whole history of parents making their children believe what they believe. Your parents wanted you to believe in their religion, and you said no, and they love you anyway. And now you want them to believe that the earth is flat, and they don't want to, but you won't let it go. So the records kind of responded almost in a, like, check yourself, kind of a tough love answer. And then he was like, that's fair. And it was healing him. I could hear, as he was like talking through it, his process of like, gosh, that does make a lot of sense. I don't think he was considering it, because then he was looking back, he was like, and my grandparents made my parents believe in that religion. And then my great grandparents made my grandparents believe in that. And so he was tracing it back, and it was going all the way through the line. But at the end of the day, the records ended up answering his question and said, when you're with your parents, why can't you just all, instead of arguing about this, focus, make it funny, and focus on the fact that you're both right and you're both wrong. How amazing is that? You're both right and you're both wrong. And so the records went on to say, what you are tuning into, as a flat earther, is that the platform of reality that is layered over this earth is like, it's like this flat, it's like this density, right? It's like a layer. And then there's another one on top of that, right? That could be, maybe it's the heaven realm, right? Or whatever, it's the astral realm on top. There's all these dimensions layered on top of each other, like kind of like the Matrix, like the video, like the simulation. Mm-hmm. So they're tuning into that. The earth is round, but you are in a flat platform of reality in this incarnation, like in this simulation. And so I found that to be so mind-blowing. And it's those answers to those questions where I say, you can't make this up. I never could have made that up, ever. There's nothing inside of me that could have pulled that out of any hat. And I record a lot of the, when I do a virtual, his was virtual. When I do a virtual Akashic Records reading, we record it. It's so easy to record. That was one that I actually watched back, because I was like, wait a minute, what was that about? Because now I can understand why people are so adamant that the earth is flat. When it's like, I never want to judge people, but I'm curious, and like, why? Why are there so many people that believe the earth is flat? Well, now I understand what they're tapping into, and it makes sense. And so, as the Akashic Records were saying, why can't we all just get along? We're both right. We're all right. We're all wrong. It's perspective. You're tapping into something. You're tapping into something. So let's just either not talk about it or laugh about it. We don't have to force a belief onto another. That was the summary of the reading. And so I get these amazing adventures when I'm reading somebody, and I know it's not for my entertainment and for my benefit, but I learn so much. And he's doing great today. I just saw him over the weekend, and he's just having a great time, and he let it go with his parents, and he's got his own group, and they don't argue about their beliefs anymore, and it's really fascinating.
They got to the most important part of just enjoying their time and being together, instead of arguing about really something kind of trivial in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, because when he and I first met, he was desperate. Like, my parents are getting up there in age, and they're the most important people to me. And before they leave this earth, I must convert them to believing what I believe. And I'm like, now we didn't go this far, but he's the reincarnation of his great grandparents, who started the whole thing of making each other believe what they want to, like forcing the beliefs on. I'm just guessing, because I've seen crazier things unfold,
Well, now you just brought on the next question that just popped in: reincarnation and the Akashic Records. So, like, do you just get a volume 2 if you're reincarnated? What does that look like?
Right. Well, we create karma, and so we want to come back, and we want to finish it up. We want to reconcile it. We want to balance it out, and everybody agrees. And sometimes we give somebody else a chance, to make it up to us. And if they're not doing it right, then they're going to have to try it again. But nobody makes us do it. We all choose it ourselves. I fully believe that. Um,
Hmm.
we're kind of suckers for that. I'll be reading people sometimes. It's like, oh, you never would have incarnated again if that person did not agree to come with you, because you could not have done it, without them. And the person's like, oh my God, you're right. Um, so as much as none of us ever want to come back, I feel like, well, I don't know if we're addicted to reincarnating or what, but we just keep saying yes. Like, I'll go back. Ugh,
Yeah, right now I'm pretty
man,
steadfast. I'm like, nah, I'm not coming.
I
I
hear
don't.
you.
Mm-mm,
I
can't.
know. We're
You
like,
might change your mind. You might change your mind.
put me
No,
back
no,
in
I'm
the
going
body.
there.
Like, no, let me put that
Let
on.
me do it again.
Yeah,
I took some time off. Let me do it again.
do not let me reincarnate, no matter what, please,
Yeah.
please.
I came, I saw, I was not impressed.
Yes,
Negative 5 stars. I'm not
right.
coming.
Yes, but the tacos were okay.
Will the Akashic Records say if a person is going to come back or not?
People have asked me that question, and you know what? Again, my records can be very funny and smart ass. So I did have somebody ask me, um, "How will I die?" Or he asked me some. It was some question like that, like "How will I die?" Or when? What? I forget how he asked, but the answer was, "Your mom will come get you." His mom's on the other side, and that was the answer. What it was like, or was some what? I forget how he worded it, but it elicited the answer of like, "Your mom will come get you." And so it wasn't like, it's a disease or a car accident or, poisoning. It was like, your mom will come get you. And that was the only, like, it didn't want to tell him how he was going to die or when he was going to die, but it would like perfectly answer the question. Your mom will come get you. But there have absolutely been times when information came through from the records. I was reading somebody once at a psychic fair, and she asked, like this, again, sometimes the questions that come out of people, they stop me in my tracks. But I'm so compassionate, and you just got to go with it. She asked, she says, why did I choose to be, what did she say? Bipolar? Why did I choose to have bipolar disorder in this life? Man, I was like, wow, what a powerful question. Let's see what the records say. And it came through that she's in life 2 out of a 3 life series where she's studying this. In the first life, she was a medical practitioner who was female in a male-dominated medical profession, and she was. This is probably long ago before we knew what bipolar disorder was, and so it wasn't being diagnosed properly or treated properly, and she couldn't get her work done all the way because she was being blocked out as a female. In this life, she wanted to have the actual experience of it. She's gaining knowledge about it. And then she already has a 3rd life set up after this incarnation where she comes back as a doctor that is able to get in as a female and create a lot of headway. And in whether it's the technology or the healing or the rectification, like the remedy, whatever it is, or even like within the mental health world. So she's in this. She's got a 3 life process already. She's got her next life already set up. So that is absolutely possible. And when I delivered that information for her, I always wonder, because again, I read with my eyes closed. So I don't know what's happening, and I got to stay focused and connected. But after the reading, I opened my eyes and looked at her, and she's like, "Makes perfect sense," and she just walked away. I was like, oh, okay, because you never know how they're gonna respond to that or handle that. But she was like, that absolutely makes sense. And she was given suggestions too. Document every part of your journey. Document it, keep it in a journal, write about it, go to support groups, talk about it, do the things, because this is part of her journey, and it all goes into her records for the next lifetime that she can pull from those records even in her next incarnation as a mental health professional, helping her patients with this in the next life, that she's got the direct experience of having had it in this life. And so it's really, really incredible.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Was it one of
So,
the wine
well,
spirits? Was she drinking when she?
No, actually,
Okay.
she was not drinking. And I don't like reading drunk people. Full disclosure. I'm hired a lot of times to do parties. Ugh, bachelorette parties. I don't know. It's like not my favorite thing to read people on alcohol. sure you know.
Yeah.
As long as I'm sober and whatever, but
Yeah.
they're not taking the information really, and yeah.
Mhm.
My
Yeah,
mom
like
always
half of the
yeah.
time and playing stump the reader, or what's the
Yeah.
most, ridiculous thing to
No,
ask.
I don't mind if they've had one drink, and they're a little loose because they're more open, but not drunk people. There's a difference.
Yeah.
Now, wine and spirits, you're not
Yeah.
there long enough to be drunk, unless it's 10 o'clock at night and they really are trying to get one last reading from you. But I try to hightail it out of there by 9, just to not get those late night drunks.
Have you ever had a client that they took you to a different dimension and you got introduced with that life, that dimension, not a part of Earth,
Yeah.
and it is just the most fascinating and the most kind of strange things to see.
Yeah.
I mean, I do past life regressions, and I had a person take me into a different dimension,
Yeah.
and I saw everything that this person was describing,
Yeah.
and it wasn't part of Earth.
Right.
It was
Yes.
totally just another planet or another
I have
life.
seen that. I have. Absolutely. It's fascinating stuff. I've even been on a ship in some galaxy or something where I was seeing a scene from somebody's life up there in the cosmos. So yeah, and angelic realm and fairy realm and other planets, and a lot of our issues come from Earth, really, though. So mostly it's Earth, but yeah, and I remember even there was a gal who she was just had a year and she was really struggling, and we ended up finding out from her Akashic Records that this other version of her that's alive in another dimension is dying. And so it's drawing from her life force as she's fighting in that life. And so she was just feeling really drained and confused and lethargic and old, and she's in her 30s. And so we found that out, and it was like, you're going to start feeling a lot better after that version of you passes away in that lifetime, because it will help you regain a lot of your sort of life force in this life, and which has happened. And so, gosh, again, you can't make it up. I just wouldn't. There's no way to make that information up. And why would I? But again, for her, she's like, yeah, that makes sense. I was like ready to open my eyes and have them go, you're insane. Why did I sign up for this? But no, I'm so grateful that the people who come to see me are so open. And
See, immediately there's a side of me going, the ethics of draining like you but not you,
yeah,
and I'm like, how
right.
does that really work? And
Yeah,
I guess because it is you, it's allowed, but at the same time, it's you but separate. So
yeah.
that almost seems like that shouldn't be allowed to happen.
But it reminds us the soul is so powerful that it can split off and project itself into several different realities at once, because it's like we have a spiritual impatience to evolve. So it's like, all right, why don't I try these 3 lives at once instead of just one at a time and just get it all over with? And I don't
I
know.
could see me doing that. That'd be like,
Yeah, right, exactly. I think that's why we come to Earth too. It's like, would you like a 1,000 lives on all of these other planets, or would you like 15 on Earth? Ugh, those 15 on Earth.
What's option C?
Yeah, what's option C? You
None
could
of
be a
those sound
spirit
good.
guide. You could train to be a spirit guide, and so you could be, tapping somebody on the shoulder and having them never listen to you for eternity.
That's when the tap on the shoulder becomes smack upside the head,
Right.
boots by like I said. Like,
You're not listening to me. That's option C.
yeah. And I would also be that spirit guide, like I fucking told you so.
Right. Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, no questions are off limits for the Akashic Records. The records don't love yes or no questions, and they're not helpful. It's not helpful for somebody to have a yes or no. The records want to explain the whole thing. So I always will help people reword their question if it's a yes or no question to a how, a why, a where, all like just kind of being creative on how to word those questions so that we can get the best answer for them. Because if somebody asks like, when will I meet the love of my life? Like they want, oh, in October 2026. No, it'll say when you let go of your ex-husband. Like they'll say something like that. And then the person will be like, what do you mean let go of my ex-husband?
Oh,
They
mic
didn't want
drop.
that answer. Yeah. So when questions are kind of tricky as well. So I always try to help, I do counsel people as we're doing the records, and like, ooh, let's ask it this way. And I always get their permission first. Play around with it like that. And we can even ask, well, let's try to ask it this way and see how they respond, because they want us to be very specific with our questions. And they do want to give very specific answers. And the answers are always so positive. Even when a person thinks, if they're ashamed about something or whatnot, the records will be like, no, it's this, not that. Somebody is asking about their anxiety. It's like, no, there's not something wrong with you that needs to be fixed. This is a pattern that can be changed. And here's where it started. And it'll either take me back to something that happened in this life or a past life. Like they'll ask, like, where did my anxiety originate from? Well, in a past life, you were lost in a cornfield and, you almost got hit by a tractor when this farmer came through and you didn't eat for 3 days and, whatever. Like, whenever you're far from home, you get anxiety because you feel lost and you think you're in that field again or whatever. Like it just right. Comes through, then we clear it. Like, let's clear that so you can thrive. Like you don't need to carry that with you anymore.
I mean, I have anxiety just hearing that because I'm thinking children of the corn.
Exactly. Nobody wants to be lost in a cornfield.
Malachi is coming to get me.
Yes, so, he is. Isaac and he who walks between the rows.
Yes.
Right, we gotta put something on our Halloween movie list now.
It's been a minute since I've watched that, and I feel like now I need to.
By the way, Stephen King, those are the first books I read. 8 years old, all the Stephen King books. Give them to me.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. Have you seen that meme? It says like Gen Xers, we are the way we are because we were reading Stephen King way too young. And I'm like, yeah.
Me. Yeah. Salem's Lot was my first.
Trying to. I think Pet Sematary was my first.
That was mine. That was mine. Scared me, boy.
I'm like, oh yeah, I was way young reading that. And I just remember like my teacher, I think she was I was in middle school in Germany and I was reading Needful Things.
Oh,
and she's like, does your mother know that you're reading that? I'm like, it's her book. Call her. I don't care.
Well, that was a good
Who cares if I mess it up?
That's what
yeah. Way to go, Stephen King. Back when King was good.
Yeah. I mean, he still got some good stuff.
Yeah, his son writes really well too, Joe.
Yes, he does.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I was just recently revisiting The Heart-Shaped Box and have forgotten how good that book was.
So good.
Now, so Akashic Records and Past Lives for me are kind of like two of the ones that I'm a little harder on people wanting to do interview reads, right? Because they're hard to prove. Yeah. So how do you approach the skeptic when they're like,
I actually try it. I actually will steer clear of a skeptic. If you're skeptical of it, I'm not going to use my energy to force you into believing anything. One time, and this is actually when I did an actual full past life regression, and this was many, many years ago, more than 15 years ago. Somebody came to me and she said, I am curious about past life regression, but I'm very skeptical. And at the time, I was still kind of new to doing it. And she actually happened to be somebody, I was teaching yoga and she was one of my students. And I said, you know what? I've got time. Why don't we try it? And if it works, here's what you owe me. And if it doesn't work, you don't owe me anything. Well, she full on went to a past life and it was incredible. And it answered a lot of questions for her. And she ended up writing me a check afterwards. And so, and I was completely okay with it not working and just saying it wasn't for you, but it worked out wonderfully. And she wasn't a skeptic anymore, but I don't attract skeptics. I really don't. And I'm very grateful for that. And I do say a prayer often. Send me the people that I can help who can also help me. And when I add that part at the end, it sends me the people who can help me in a way that they're open, that they are listening, that they take the guidance, that they that maybe they even just, I've learned something by reading them, or they have referred somebody to me, or, give me a generous tip or whatever it is. Like they've also helped me, because I love for what I do to be two-sided. I don't want to just put out and just give. I need to receive as well. So I want that reciprocation also in the people that I work with. And it creates beautiful, beautiful relationships. And even if I only read somebody once and then years go by and then I see them later and I never knew what happened to them, they tell me, oh my God, that reading you gave me 3 years ago was so incredible. And here's what's been happening. I was like, I don't know. I have to let go of it as soon as we're done. I can't carry their reading with me. I can't, but there are some readings that I give that, man, they stay with me for a few days or a little while, because they're so profound. And there's some of those that I just don't stop thinking about for a couple of days, but not in a bad way. Like mind blowing, like, wow, I can't believe that happened. Or even the one where I was telling you about the call, right. That one, that was the reading that I did last Friday. It's still with me today. Like I was thinking about it all weekend long. It still gives me chills every time I think about it. And that was just amazing. But I really don't use my energy for skeptics. I can't. I got to use it for the positive things. I'm not gonna try extra hard to make you believe what I believe. It's like
like for that other client, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
No, good question. I just know when we've had interview, people, and I'm open to it, and obviously, right, because you and I work together. But sometimes you have somebody who's trying way too hard, and they keep trying to change it to make it fit, and I'm like,
yeah, and actually, if it's somebody's first time doing anything like this, oftentimes it's a man. I don't want to but like his wife sent him, right? Or, his girlfriend, and, like, oh yeah, but we're reading with her. And they've never had a reading before. They're closed because they don't know how to be or what to do. And maybe they'll cross their arms and they'll be like, you tell me everything, and they kind of shut down and block. I'm sure like you guys have that experience of the person who's not necessarily a skeptic, but they're testing you.
Yeah.
And I can always tell that too. And I'll just let them know. I'll say, hey, just relax a little bit, take a couple of breaths, think about being open. You're going to have a much better experience. And this will go a lot easier if you just be open to whatever comes through today. And if it doesn't resonate with you, you don't have to take it. And so once they start to let their guard down, then it's so much easier for me to give them that reading. Otherwise, like it is kind of hard. So I have to stop it, almost like interrupt the reading and say, you know what? I know you've never done this before. I don't know everything about you at all times, and I don't want to. So just ask a question that I can lean into and be open. They're trying to, they don't know. They don't know how it's supposed to work. So you just have to talk a little bit. And so it's, I guess, similar maybe to working with a skeptic. It's just somebody that doesn't know and they're closed off. They don't know what to do or how to be because they're uncomfortable. It's anything's awkward the first time you do it. So I have to, give them a little spoon feeding.
And it's always
great.
Like kind of sweet and fun at first, when a client comes in and they're like, I want a reading, but I have no idea.
Yeah.
And, so, then we go through and it's usually at a fair and we're like, here's the different types of reading. Here's what each one of those types mean. And then, and if they're still overwhelmed, I'm like, look at the faces. Who are you drawn to by their face? And like,
oh yeah,
go over there and just,
I love that.
And we hope that by the time we get them to that reader, like they've relaxed a little bit. Some of that nervousness has kind of shifted away to make the reading, work. And I'm pretty sure like 99% of the time that is the case, because then they end up coming back and getting another and going to somebody else. You're like, well, what does this mean again?
Yeah.
So, and that's always fun. The first timers, and they have a good experience.
Yeah. And I love that too. Like somebody I was reading her on a retreat at the on a spring equinox, and she didn't really know what to ask. And so we went into Akashic Records, and I said, "What does she need to know?" And the Akashic Records kept showing her bare foot, and I was like, "The records want to talk about your foot. What happened?" She's like, "Oh my God!" And she's like, "I stepped on whatever this animal in the water that has spines when she was on vacation in Florida, and she never got it. She thought she needed a shot for something and was infected and she was limping, and it's on top of it, this is going on in her life." And I'm like, okay, so the records want to talk about this with you, and like let's get to the bottom of it and sort this out, because it was connected to something emotional that she was ruminating on for weeks in her life. And then that it was like a barb of some kind of a sea animal that she stepped on in the ocean, and it was like a big splinter in her foot, and she pulled it out, but she never went and got treatment for it. But it's like compounding that with the emotional stuff she was going through. So again, like things like that, it's like, I don't know what to ask. Well, let's just see what your records want you to know. And the first thing, like, I heard her leave the room and go tell the other, she asked about my foot. I just met you. I don't know anything about your foot, but the records were, wanted to talk about it because it's connected to something emotional in your life, that thing was trying to get your attention. What she's been putting off.
You still didn't get it, so we made you step on it, and here we are.
Yes. It's crazy.
I love how the universe can be very much sarcastic.
Yeah.
And a little pushy, because I'm probably one of those people, one of these humans in this lifetime, that it's got to push me into a few things.
Yeah, the past life work in the Akashic Records, it feels a little bit like a shortcut. And so people, because I also do past life regression, like you, Maria, I'm sure we do it differently. I don't know, but it's just like, it's a little bit of a shortcut. So like, I would give people the option, like, for a past life regression, we really want to take our time. You're going to relax. I want you to take your time going back. We're going to access some memories, help you feel confident. I'm going to put your soul mind into this whole process. And then as they're talking to me, they might go to more than one past life, and that's a regression. But if they want to skip all that, maybe they don't meditate a lot. Maybe they're not visual people. They can't see, any of their past lives in order to report them back, but they're more of a feeling type of person. They get in their own way, they get stuck. And then it feels like they're, I'm not going anywhere. Well, the shortcut is, should we just go into your Akashic Records? Now I'm going to tell you, based on the information in your records, what your past lives were. So it's an option that they get. Do you want to experience it yourself in a full-on regression where it comes out of your mouth and you tell me, or do you want me just to go into your soul records and read them for you? And so it's like, I can access a past life of yours in 15 minutes or 2 hours. Like, which one would you like? Because, we're all looking at the clock in the time, we're all scheduling and bound by time here. So somebody wants a shortcut, but sometimes somebody who is slightly more skeptical wants it to come out of their own mouth. And then they come out of it and they're like, yeah, I wouldn't have made that up. So that can be proof for them that something like that happened. And I feel like, and I don't know if you experience this, Maria, but people always, was I somebody famous or was I somebody terrible? Neither. 9 times out of 10, neither. But yeah, if you suspect you may have had a past life with a certain somebody, you probably did. It's usually relationships that come through a lot in the past life work, whether it's Akashic Records or regression. It's like, okay, do you know who this person was to you in a past life? That was your father, and he's your husband now, and he's treating you the same way, kind of a thing.
If I remember correctly, and it's funny that you're saying that, because I think one of the first times you were doing those, and it was a different type of reading that you were testing with me. And I think I was asking about like the issues I was having with my back, and you're like, oh, well, you and your ex-husband in a past life, he literally shot you
with an arrow in the back of your heart.
I'm like, yeah, and that MFer's still getting me here, and I'm like, oh.
I remember that, and you might have even stopped the reading right after that and said, "You're hired."
Yeah, you're done. You're in. Welcome to the Goddess Elite family. Yeah, because I was expecting you to be like, well, you were climbing a mountain and you fell and broke your, I did not expect you to be like, well, that ex-husband, he shot you.
Yeah, it was like, so I saw that bow and arrow, not a gun. It's more personal when it's a blade.
I'm like, yep, we're in, and did not expect that to come out.
Me neither. I never knew what to expect. I always, Gosh, but I feel like the more excited I am to do a reading for somebody, the better the reading is, and I think that that has to
Mhm.
be my vibration, like getting my vibration, like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to help this person, or I can't wait
Mhm.
to see what they need, or to see how what truth comes through, and I just get so excited, and then it's just like, wow, that it's just amazing seeing how much better people feel when they walk away. It's such a
Mhm.
great form. That's why I call what I do spiritual therapy. And I'm not a certified therapist or anything like that, but I see the therapeutic ways that what people like me are doing help others even more so than medication or you know other forms of therapy of helping them. It's just fascinating.
Hmm.
Spiritual
Yeah,
therapy.
the most profound, and when you said that that's proof for them, is when I put someone in a regression, I see tears are coming down their face.
Yeah,
Their soul is connected to that life, and they know when they come out of it, it was real. It happened. You
yes,
know, I was so and so. It happened,
yes,
and that's proof for them. I
yeah,
don't have to prove anything to you. I'm just asking you. I'm just walking
yeah.
with you in this memory. Yeah, and that is very profound because a lot of them like that made so much sense
Oh, I love
of
that.
why my life has gone the way I have, the choices I made. That made so much sense.
Yeah,
And yeah, that is proof for them. So, I don't have to prove anyone about past lives. If they want to go through it, and if they so connects to that life, I do have like, oh, that was wonderful, or I see tears. I mean, I literally had this big construction guy came in, and he was crying. They took him to 3 past lives, and he was crying on each past life.
amazing. I love this.
Yeah,
It's a release, right? It's
yeah,
absolutely just unlock and let it go, and I'm sure he's feeling free wherever he's at today.
yeah, yeah.
Well, if any of our
So,
friends in the audience have any questions, feel free to ask. We've got Dana for a couple more minutes because, Dana, I'm sure you've had a busy day and squeeze us in. So I don't want to keep you late as we keep chatting because I feel like we could talk forever.
Yeah, I got my mood lighting happening in the room here. It's like it got dark outside all of a sudden, and my lamp is on the other side of the room. Sorry, I'm in the dark, everybody.
The librarian is like, closing time. You don't got to go home, but you can't stay here.
Yes, I'm open to
But
any questions.
yeah, you've been doing readings with us. What did you say since 2018?
2018, since June 2018.
So it has been fun watching your method of readings like grow and
Yes.
shift, and how excited you get when I do get to see you because we don't always cross paths at the store all the
Yeah.
time. And when I get to visit, and you're like, oh, this, and I'm like,
Yes.
that's pretty awesome. Like you've been holding out on me. We got to tell people you can do that too.
Right. I know there has, and thanks for giving me a place to open up like that because it was something I really didn't know I needed. Because how we met, my husband had a food truck, and the food truck was going to be offering food at the winery. And my husband was like, "You need to meet Melissa." And I was thinking I was going to attend the psychic fair, but I think that the two of you thought I was going to do readings at it, and I was like, I'm not confident. I'm not ready for that. And then I read you, and you were like, "No, you're ready." And I'm like, "Shit." So
No,
I
he
just
wanted you reading.
I actually say that's when I came out of the closet was in 2018 with Goddess Elite because it was it was a little bit under wraps. It was just hush hush word of mouth among just the closest little. I was like still telling everybody in my family that like, oh, I just teach yoga. I just teach yoga, do a little Reiki. I can read chakras, but like every time I would do Reiki, I would do like read the chakras, it turned into a psychic reading. And I was just like, okay, so maybe I just need to sort of come out of the closet. So then even after 2020, my family members were like, are you still teaching yoga, Dana? And I go, no, I'm doing psychic readings now. They go, and then they just walk away. I'm like, see you over there. Let me know if you need the catch up. I don't care. I just love out, being out of the psychic closet and telling people like I'm just proud to. I've helped so many people, and with I don't do it alone. And I'm just amazed at our journey. It's absolutely helpful for the journey to clear up some of our past lives or to understand what we're doing now. Well, I have past lives that are still affecting me today, and and whether they're a challenge or whether they're a blessing. And I've cleared some stuff too, but sometimes people don't want the clearing. I always give permission. I've asked before, like, would you like this cleared? They're like, no, I want to keep it. It helps me feel connected to this or that. I'm like, okay, okay, you can keep it. But if you ever do want to get rid of it, which is recommended from your Akashic Records, but it is your choice, you can do it your own by doing this, or you can find somebody like me again to help you release that. But yeah, there was this one guy who was a soldier in a past life, and he was programmed for no emotion, only just to do his job as a soldier in this army. And he was wondering why in this life he had no emotion. He couldn't grieve his grandfather's death, who raised him. He couldn't fall in love with his partner that he was married to and laugh with their friends. Like, he just had no emotion. And the record showed this past life and said, would you like to clear that so you can experience more emotion in this life? He's declined. He said it almost like triggered the memory of being so devout in that, regime or whatever he was in. It was like programmed, and he wanted to kind of keep that loyalty. And he loved it. He loved the reading. He played it for his family members, but he didn't want the clearing.
Oh, that's kind of sad.
It is.
Yeah.
Kind of sad.
Yeah.
That's why I gave him, I was like, here's the prayer to say if you ever do want to release it, or you can find somebody like me one day when you're ready. Like, I didn't force it on him, I didn't push it on him, but I did slip him a note. Because the records wanted me to. They're like, here's what you can say when you are ready to release it, but we'll let you keep it because it's your choice.
That is so wow. And then, of course, my mind, because I love working with our service members and what they've gone through and helping them and bring back soul pieces. And I'm like, how many of them enlisted this lifetime because I have before? And it's that familiar, feeling of the life. And now they're kind of like stuck, if you will.
Yeah.
Of just repeating and, and I'm like, we as a society need to do better. And if we can help them spiritually, but then when you run into something like that, where you want to help them and they're just not ready to.
Yeah. He wasn't ready. Yeah. But he had the information, and that somehow made him feel better. Just having the information, just knowing the reason without changing, because familiarity feels safe for a lot of people and change feels dangerous.
Reinstated that loyalty of like, oh, that's why, and the logic kicked in, and like, okay, same mission, different lifetime, and like, no, but he's not technically on that mission.
Yeah.
You've been given new orders.
Yeah. I know, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
And I like the truth. It's like only truth can come through the Akashic Records. So I always feel safe in that, and in the delivery of that, of like, people who do what we do, if we're giving a reading or something, like one of the things we absolutely don't want to do is be wrong. We want to get that translation right for them, for the highest good. But I just always feel so safe, like, because I do psychic medium readings as well. But when people ask me the difference, like, okay, so your loved ones are going to interact with you in this type of reading, and I can channel messages for you. But in this reading, profound truths, pertaining to your soul purpose come through, and a lot of past life stuffs and whatnot. And your ancestors aren't going to interact so much. So like, that's really a difference, and they get the choice. And people can't decide, like, oh my gosh, I don't know which one I want. Well, do you have your heart set on talking to Granny, or do you really want to solve this mystery about yourself? Sometimes I'll split the session. We'll do a half an hour of each so they can get a taste of both. And yeah, it's really some options. I love variety. So
does Granny come sit next to you and look at the book too? And
yeah, right. She's highlighting page 4. I love looking at people's soul contracts too. When they ask that, like a woman's like, oh, me and my husband, are we going to make it? And well, let's look at your soul contract and see what the terms are. And, come through that there's 6 terms to your soul contract in this incarnation. You're on term number 4 right now. Term number 5 is the crossroads. And then it's like, if you stay together, here's term number 6. If you don't stay together, there's a whole other contract for you. So stuff like that, like, but sometimes there is no crossroads. Sometimes it's like, no, the terms of your soul contract with this person were over last year. You need to tear that contract up and be done with it. And then the person is like so relieved and they're like, oh my gosh, why am I lingering here? And so they'll be ready to walk away. But we do a lot of cord cutting in the Akashic Records and tearing up of contracts. And one of the major things that I think people don't consider sometimes is in past lives, we can take a vow or make a commitment with such passion and conviction that it carries over into this life. So there's a woman that I have been working with for years, and we finally, because I had only started offering Akashic Records readings in the past 3 years, when we finally got it into her Akashic Records, we got to solve a lot of mysteries about her that we couldn't figure out why she will never let herself off the hook. Well, it was in a past life. She was trying to save somebody and she accidentally killed them instead. And she was so distraught about it in that past life with such passion and conviction. She vowed, I will never forgive myself for this. And I saw all of that happening in her past life. And so in all subsequent lives, she still doesn't forgive herself for that. And so she's so mean to herself and she punishes herself and she just won't let herself off the hook ever or offer any kind of self-compassion or self-forgiveness. Everything that she does is wrong, and she feels like she's always hurting somebody when she's not. She's adored, and it's like creates serious anxiety in her. So we figured that out and helped unlock that. And then there's other aspects to it where she's just not ready to make that change in her life too with something. It's like you have to leave that relationship. That's when your anxiety goes away. But nope, there they are 12 years later, still together. But yeah, that was really amazing. So when we come upon those kinds of vows and commitments that we made, we can release ourselves from those. It's time. So that's a great prayer for anybody to say. Just, if you're suspecting that, if you're listening to this and you're suspecting that, you can just say, you can just pray to your angels and guides. Like, if I am holding on to any sort of vow or commitment that I made in a past life that is no longer serving me today, let it be released into the light and the highest good. And so it is, just kind of send that out there. You might even feel a shift. Now, if it stays with you, it might be in the highest good that it does, because you're supposed to learn something still. But you can release stuff like that. Like, gosh.
Yeah.
We don't have to carry that stuff around.
No. And what better way to finish learning what you need to this lifetime?
Yes.
By letting go of that anchor.
Absolutely.
Or anchors.
Yeah.
And move through. Because like I said, I don't want to come back.
Right. I'm done.
I'm so done.
Not coming back.
I've already told my son, I'm like, I will not reincarnate on this planet with you. I will be on the other side, flicking your ear, telling you to quit doing, but I'm like, I am not coming back.
And don't you make any grandkids for me that I'm going to want to come back for either.
No.
I'm ready to fall in love with them.
Right. No, I am so done. I'm done. I am already in my old lady grumpy phase about being here, and I'm not even 50 yet.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for joining, Dana. It's fun.
Pleasure. That was fun.
I want to see if we can snag you on for some more chit chats for our podcast here, because I feel like we haven't even gotten.
I could tell so many more stories, ladies. I got an arsenal.
Well, given some of the stuff that's been going on here, I feel like, Dana, let's do this and we'll share it over my messed upness that's been going on. Like, why?
Yes. And what needs to be released in that area, or are you a catalyst for other things? Like, what if spirit chose you for this to happen so these people can get caught, so they don't do this to this person that was going to do this if that didn't happen? Like, you never know the chain of events and the order of which the universe is trying to make things happen, because I believe spirit, the universe, whatever, can use us for other things. Right. And it all turns out to be good in the end, even if it feels like, or it could just be like, you asked for this to happen because it's pushing you into this area. You're like,
I asked, what was I drunk when I?
Yeah, right.
I feel like I was. I feel like I was not, or was I sleeping?
Yeah.
Like, this is dumb. But
more often than not, it's going to be an answer the least that we were expecting. That is always what it what it ends up happening is like, oh my God, I didn't expect that.
Right. like, again, when you were like, yeah, that ex shot you with an arrow in the
Right.
back. I'm like, wasn't expecting that, but I could see that
Yeah.
doing that. Yeah, you're
Yep.
right. Yeah.
He's still doing it. Yeah. Still doing it.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh,
So, well, thanks for joining though. And
yeah.
Thank you.
we will have to check our schedules, make sure when we can snag you again and continue this.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's even more about the Akashic Records that we haven't even delved into.
No, it's just a surface. It's deeper. There's deeper stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely. And maybe I'll even do like a practice reading on one of you if we want to demonstrate what that looks like, if anybody is interested,
Hey,
we'll think of a question that you're not going to be, that you're going to be open. Like if let's ask something that you want people that you're not like, too closed off for people to know. Like, what is my soul learning right now? Or why, like, I'll even ask in my own Akashic Records, like, why have I had a headache for 2 days? And I can't, like, is it perimenopause? Am I dehydrated? Like, whatever. And then the answer is sinus infection. Oh, great. Now I know what to do. But it's like solving these mysteries about ourselves and clearing the way and lightening our loads and shifting our perspective. It's just so refreshing, and we deserve it. We deserve to live life a little more light and a little more free, because it's hard enough over here. So when we have this access, let's take it. So if people want to find out more, they can find me through the Goddess Elite website. I have my own website. It's my name, DanaChason.com. I'm on social media, and we can even just meet here on another podcast.
There we go. Which I'm already excited for.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Yes.
but we'll have to do some texting offline and be like,
Sure thing. Set it up. Thank you, ladies, so much. Have a beautiful evening.
thank you. And
Thank you.
And we will catch you guys next week for our next live with the Healer's Corner. And we'll see you then.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Good night.
Okay, I got